Who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Lepre, King Michael. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. It is 7:06, 1 minute late, but it takes a while. It's a minute to play the off. It is May 29th, 2022. That is 05292022. Not really much for the math geeks to do on that one. Joining me as always, Buddy Thayer. Buddy Thayer, what's up?
Good evening, Mike. How you doing? I'm not really much of a money guy. Oh my God, what awful picks, what awful.
Nah, I'm gonna go 2-2. Stick to the stay on course.
Right. But it's Happy Memorial Day weekend. It's usually not really a happy weekend for me, as it's my wife's anniversary. But we did something really special this weekend to kind of pay tribute to her, and it just kind of like turned the tables on the whole loss and depression and all that shit. It's a good day, and I have a good beer this evening, Mike, which kind of always brightens my day, as you may or may not know. Today, I'm drinking. I brought this brewery to the table many times. This is just yet another one of their great examples of fantastic beer. It's called Long Live Brewery, Long Live Beer Works. It's in Providence, Rhode Island. It's right down there in the southern side of the city. This is called a All-Seeing Eye. It's a lovely 8.4 double IPA. It's made with Citra and Simcoe hops, and it's delicious on a nice warm May day.
You taking a sip from it and then saying does not, if that's, why do you think that helps promote the
it's delicious, Mike. It's better than like I was doing the other night with the barrel aged shit.
All right, hey, look, Joey Paranormal, there he is. What's up, Joe?
Not much, guys. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I didn't go with the beer. I'm doing the high noon sun sips, Barstool hat. So Barstool. If anyone from you is watching or listening, hey, hi, I'm here, Joey Paranormal. I can do double duty. So
couple things, guys. First off, before we bring in our guest, you don't talk to the guest and get stories before we go on air. Joey, Tuesday, HR. Remember, 2:00, our appointment. Write that down. Talking before on air. We got to bring that up. We got to straighten out this ship. You know what I mean? So now, buddy, I'm going to let you bring in the guest. Okay. Can you do your best? Ready?
Okay. We are shouting at the devil this evening to welcome demonologist, author, and I dubbed him philosopher as he delves into epiphenomenalism, which I hope I'm saying that right. I doubt I am. And maybe we'll hear more about it soon. Welcome to the show, Nathaniel Gillis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. I'm glad to be with you, and I'm excited to be talking about this subject.
Nathaniel, first off, I threw a couple pictures of you in the intro. You look different every single time. You're a man of you're like a chameleon in the sense of how you can look. And it first off, that's what I wanted to say to you, because it's quite impressive. Secondly, before we go over other stories about things you've done, maybe I got a little help from James, maybe I didn't, but let's talk about, for everybody listening, demonology, because here's the thing. I say it to my wife, and she goes, "Oh geez, oh no." So there's just something in the name, demonologist. So for everyone listening, what is a demonologist?
Well, the classic definition of a demonologist is somebody who studies demonology. When I first got booked on Coast to Coast 3 years ago, they tried to put me in that box. What are you researching currently, right? And the producer said, "Oh, you're a demonologist." That's literally how it started. And so that's what I'm classified as, but my research as of late is kind of stretching beyond demonology and the ufology and the UFO abduction phenomenon. But as it currently sits, that's the definition of a demonologist, somebody who studies that more than they study all else.
So is that name for what you do a pro or a con? It sounds like it could be both. I could be honest. Like it seems like if it came up with a softer name or a different name, it might be a better way to get around it. But I mean, I guess if someone had thinking about they had demons, they would want a demonologist.
Yeah, I come from an evangelical background, and people think that I worship demons.
Yeah,
the demonologist, right? And I said, well, if that's the case, then does an oncologist worship cancer? No. And so, it's very interesting to me because it's like, I don't really know. I would never assign a certain amount of value or devalue to the title. It's just somebody that studies what ancient demonology is and whatever these malevolent beings are. That's really what I do.
See, and I get that. And I think what it is what I've studied in my life is people. And I just know what, like, when you say a word, you can get a reaction from somebody. So I don't know. I like the term, and I mean it makes sense to me. But I'm just letting you know, like it always seems like when I say it, certain people just get squirmish. Joe, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. It's always there's those terms in the the kind of the paranormal community where like you're talking to somebody about it and you start mentioning certain things you do, and people kind of just get like really you do that, and it's like, well, no, you've got to understand it's not exactly how you think it is. There's a lot. It happens all the time when I'm trying to explain certain things to people. You start getting to a point and they're kind of like,
well, you do stammer on though, Joe. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
I'm the same way, man. When I have to tell people I'm a demonologist, or like you, somebody they know me as a demonologist, I kind of squirm too, because like I said, I'm more than and I'm less than that. I don't want to like to be defined as a demonologist. My research is more extensive than just the classic cosplay version.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where, oh my God, I have to go, the camera's on me. I can do this little prayer and hope to God it doesn't probe me. That's really what we're left with in modernity. And that's not how it used to be. And antiquity, your demonologists spoke 4 or 5 different languages. They were much more articulate, especially more than I am. And so, yeah, I mean, and we don't even know what a demon is at this point. Then what is a demonologist then, right?
Right.
The guy that specializes in not knowing.
I want to become a jerkinologist. I studied jerks, and I could detect jerks from a mile away. I hang out with a couple. I got to do a quick segue here. It'll be about a 3-minute segue, really quick. I am selling a bunch of memorabilia, sports memorabilia. It's just a thing that I'm doing. I got names like Michael Irvin, Singletary. I mean, come on, Joe. You know the names that I got. Forget about it.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But I mean, it's ridiculous. But really quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the place that I got all the memorabilia from. It was Ultimate Autographs. So these guys sent me a baseball. They signed it, a couple of them, and then I added my name to make it official. And then just really quick, this is a shout out to them. So
this is the Ultimate Autographs live break room. We go live every weekday at both noon and 8 p.m. Central Time. On the weekends, we break the biggest names in memorabilia at 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. Central Time. If you're new to breaking, we've got you covered. In the next few minutes, we will teach you everything you need to know about our UA Live Breaks broadcast so that you can start growing your collection for a fraction of the cost. Tonight's action will move fast, so we want to prep you for what you're about to see on your screen. First, the all-important dice roll.
That was Ultimate Autographs. So guys, basically what it is it's a site where there's a bunch of great NFL breaks. Like they'll have like it's like $25 to get into a spot. They'll sign 8 divisions, and if they break the helmet or whatever it is, then it's your division, you win it. So I'm surrounded by stuff that I've won. This is one of the ones that I'm not going to sell. The Jerry Rice on a camouflage. They actually sent it to me with a picture of Jerry Rice signing it, which is pretty dope. So just a shout out to the guys, Donnie, Common, James, Joe at Ultimate Autographs. Back to our show. Nathaniel, I appreciate you sitting through that. So Federal Hill, huh? This is what I heard. I want to start with this first. So now, I have info about Federal Hill. See, they have to drink every time I say something Italian. That's the rules of this show. The problem is, Nathaniel, I say a lot of Italian things because I am one of those full Italians where both sets of grandparents came over between 1910 to 1920. Family grew up in Federal Hill. I know that there's a body on the one of the buildings. I can't say anything other than that. But I know there was a body buried in the foundation of a building. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Allegedly, Joe. Allegedly. But so I'm very familiar with Federal Hill. I remember stories of my dad told me this. So when my grandfather was younger and they was here, there was a line drawn, and if you went across the line, the older Irish women would throw stones at the Italian kids and tell them to go back to their side of Federal Hill. That's how split Federal Hill was. And then Federal Hill grew to where we had Rocky Marciano fight. It's like first 15 odd fights, knocking people out. And they wrote about him saying that he's just a hype job, winning in front of all the Italians in Petriaca in Providence. That's literally what they wrote about him. And then all of a sudden, Rocky finally got to New York. There he is. But Federal Hill was so much bigger than people gave it credit for, because Petriaca was such a big mob boss. He was so much bigger than people thought. And Rhode Island's the perfect spot right in between New York and Boston. But Federal Hill itself is literally embedded in Italian old school. I mean, it's changed now, but back in the day, dude, it was. And so what do you think of it? I'm just telling you the background. What do you think of it?
Me, I love Federal Hill, man. I love it. It's, because I come from Ohio. We have nothing like that here. Nothing. It's mostly just farming, farming communities. And so, we have I think like one authentic Italian joint here.
Really?
Just one. Yeah, one. The rest of it's just, and it makes me mad. And so whenever I go to Federal Hill, man, I'm not lying. They open up at 11. I'm there. I'll go to Constantino's Vianda. I'm there. I'm getting my Italian lemonade. And then, I spend so much money there because I don't have that food here. So I stayed. I'm sorry, Ben.
Here's what you got to do, man. You got to go to New York System, get wieners, right?
Yep.
Get the coffee milk. Ask for coffee milk, right?
Of course.
Then you got to go. You can't go to Mr. Lemon. They're closed right now.
What?
I can't believe that.
Why is Mr. Lemon closed?
She fell down and got hurt.
Lemon.
The woman fell down and got hurt.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so that was one of the best lemonade stands, but that's not open right now.
Got nothing on Mr. Lemon.
So Federal Hill, what I would say is get some Italian food, get a tattoo, and what else would be the best thing there? Just get in a bar and listen. Oh, isn't it? It's just, I don't know. It's a great time.
Scalio's Bakery, Mike. Come on, get some Zeppelas, get some cannolis, some of the best Italian bakeries.
Aspeth, Sunad. Nathaniel.
It's incredible. Yeah.
So, all right. Tell me what fulfills you with this. Like, is it doing like getting? Like, tell me what fulfills you with this.
With demonology, or
yes, like what you've done.
I was going to say, man, Italian food fulfills me really well.
No, Italian. I can tell you about Italian food. Anything cheese is good. Go.
I don't really know. I grew up in a haunted house, and so that was my very first experience with this phenomenon. And so the older I became, the more I wanted to understand it. Why was it that it singled me out? I mean, even though we had like 4 or 5 other people living in the house, I was the only one that was being pestered and haunted by this entity. And so the older I got, the more I poured myself into ancient manuscripts. Then I read demonology, what's called demonology literature, all the way up through antiquity to modernity, trying to understand it and consume as much as I could.
Can I stop you? I'm sorry. You're in a haunted house. You grew up in a haunted house, first off. You're the only one that has the effect of the haunted house?
To that extent, absolutely. Whenever it was very weird. Whenever people would go to bed at night, that's when this being, or whatever you want to call it, just began to manifest. It would always start at the same time of the night, like 2:30 a.m., and I would hear it just walking in the living room. And I'm an 8-year-old kid, and we had wooden floors, so you can imagine how paralyzed I was when something that I cannot see is physical enough to displace its own weight to where you could hear it. Its footsteps walking up to my door every night. So
Did you tell your
That-
family?
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Every night they said you told them every night at 2:30.
Yeah, pretty much. And my dad was working first shift, so he would get up at like 4:30, 4:45 in the morning, and it was just, it got to a point where I had created a coping mechanism with it. You know what I mean? Where I would just have to tell myself that yes, it's real, but it doesn't want me to be afraid. And it was I had to kind of like gaslight myself into existing around it. I mean, I failed an entire grade because of this. And to this day, I don't know what it was. I think it was either, see, in demonology, we kind of classify things weird. It was either a person that committed suicide or it was an entity that caused a person to commit suicide. The reason
Did you try
I
to
know
trap
that,
it? Did you try to trap it?
no, I didn't know what to do with that. I was 8 years old.
Yeah, no,
the
I'm
only
saying
thing-
as an 8-year-old,
Yeah.
all right, so as an 8-year-old, there's
Mhm.
two things you could do. Hide under your covers, right? Because no one's listening to you. Or if you know that it's there every night at 2:30, I'd set a trap. I try to set a trap. Like, I'm being honest, as an 8-year-old, I'd have like every rake I could find in my dad's shed. Like, I'd have all kinds of shit ready, whatever I could find. Did you do that at
Yeah.
all? Did you arm yourself up? I'm being serious. Did you arm up?
No. Let me tell you, okay, this entity was the most powerful entity I've encountered in my career.
Yep.
When I first encountered it, it was at the actual open house. So my dad took me in, showed me the room. He said, take a look around. We're going to go talk to the realtor. So I'm looking around and everything, and I get on my hands and knees, and I look underneath the bed that was in the corner, and there was this full-bodied apparition, a little girl. She was about 6 years old. She was pale in complexion. And after that was over, I get back in the car and I asked my dad, did the family have any kids? My dad's like, no, it was an estate sale. The parents had died and their children didn't have any kids at all. And so that should have been my first sign, right?
Yeah.
At the time, I'm thinking, okay, like that's weird. I guess some neighborhood girl just snuck in the door when it was unlocked or something. No, I mean when we actually moved into the house, the room that I was living in, it had a stench to it, and it was a stench that only I could smell. It wasn't something other people could walk in there. They couldn't feel anything. They couldn't smell anything. But me, it smelled like death. It smelled like something had died in here. And so the more I got into my research as an adult, the more I realized that what I experienced wasn't exclusive to me. There's hundreds of millions of people in the world that have experienced this throughout history, even the stench that I smelled, right? Mm-hmm. Even that smell. And so, at the time, I didn't understand how to deal with it. I knew that I was learning things about it that did not fit the blueprint of demonology my church gave me. Demons do not have physicality, I was told. Then how is it, displacing its weight? Demons don't smell, then why did it stink to me? And so all of these things kind of really inspired me to dive further into this research. That's why I'm here tonight. That's what led me to where I am.
So, see, that's unbelievable. And that's incredible for a kid to have to deal with. But here's my question. How many people are in your family with you?
At that time, it was 4. It was 3. It was 4 total. Me, my brother, my mother and father.
Did you lose trust at all for these people in your family because they just never listened? I mean, let's be honest, man.
Somewhat.
If this is what goes on and they never listened, like
most of the time I would end up even I would end up pulling my bed, like my mattress off my bed, and I would just pull it in there. It was the weirdest thing, man. I mean, it was literally like a line of demarcation. When you walked into that room, you felt it. When you walked out, not so much.
Nathaniel, what did they think was wrong? Like in other words, what was their theory?
They thought I was, to a certain degree, for a period of time. I think it was maybe for the first 2 years, they thought I was just being over anxious or suspicious, and I had a very good imagination. But when it came down to like me failing a grade in school, because I wasn't sleeping at all at nighttime, I would turn my light on and I would just tell myself to stay awake, because what was happening is whenever I would go to sleep, I would instantly go into the same nightmare of someone committing suicide. I'm an 8-year-old kid. I don't even know anybody at that moment in time who committed suicide. I didn't even know that was a real thing. I'm 8 years old. I'm a video game player. I had no context for this stuff. But what I knew was if I close my eyes, I'm so tired that I'm going to go to sleep. And if I go to sleep, that entity is going to influence my dreams, and I'm going to have the same nightmare. It's recurring of somebody putting a gun in their mouth, the same gun, the same person every time, and pulling the trigger. And so then I would go to school and I would pass out on my desk and then repeat the process over and over again until finally failed a grade. But I don't know why they were kind of dismissive of it. And I think that to a degree now I'm thankful for it because it does give me some form of immunity and an understanding of this form, almost like a discernment dealing with these entities. And that's the way I rationalize it.
I know, man. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Get him some help, some sleeping aid, for Christ's sakes. Could you get the guy some NyQuil? Could someone check in on the kid, buddy? Your thoughts?
So people, you told me that you said that you had seen a little girl, and then you started having like these visions and these dreams about somebody killing themselves. So it probably wasn't the little girl who did it. That'd be my guess. I have heard. I'm a paranormal investigator, so I've heard other people's opinions, and some people hold true that like malevolent entities will like disguise themselves as a small child, or we've even been to a place called USS Salem where a small child is said to be a demonic entity because it's a small child. Do you think that's what it is you encountered?
So wait,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
I'm sorry. So wait, so that's the Carl Johnson, Keith Johnson split right there. That's what I call the split of what a child is. One believes that it's actually a child. One believes that it's a demon posing as a child. So I'm sorry again, Nathaniel, your side of it is.
Okay. Well, I think it varies case to case. I mean, there are case studies, especially American Institute of Psychical Research, where it is a ghost. It is an entity, a disembodied soul of a little girl. However, I lean towards the side that if this is a malevolent entity, absolutely it will manifest to you in a very innocent fashion. It wants to gain trust. It wants to create some form of tacit covenant with you and it. But I will say in this case, I don't believe that was a little girl at all. I believe, again, I'm an 8-year-old boy. It would appear somewhere as a girl near that age range. But when I actually moved into the house, that's when this entity mutated. It evolved. It was not just a little girl anymore. Now it's a cloudy apparition that hovers like a cloud in the corner of the room. Now it's not just that innocent, pale-faced, beautiful little girl. Now it's something. Literally, when it would walk in, it would make you feel like the smallest particle in the universe. It would fill up every crevice and crack in the room. It would just push you. It was some kind of existential crisis that it would just
emotional,
trigger.
Physical. It was
Yes.
everything, every way every level they can affect you. Like senses, your senses were affected.
Everything. And so I mean, I even saw a shadow figure one night. And so to answer your question again, I will say that I believe it's case to case. And so I would say they're both right, but they're both wrong. I think it's not this or that. I think it's both. But it does vary case to case. Like I said, sometimes it is just a benevolent entity or a ghost, and other times it's an entity that knows to appear to you as something innocent to kind of manipulate.
This is so we've been doing this paranormal show for a year and a half. I'm going to call it. And where I finally found that I sit on this is that I just refuse to believe that kids' spirits are kept behind. Like I have a credo where I think all dogs and kids should just go straight up. And then when I find out there's places that have like kids and locations and you can come and you'll hear the kids, but like some people can make them pass on, but they won't make the kids pass on. It just blows my mind, like why it wouldn't be like a whole like group effort to find the kids that I think are actually kids and help them move on. Secondly, I think it's mostly demons. I think if it's going to be a little kid voice, then it's going to be something that's going to suck you, because a little kid voice is just like, I don't know. Again, I was trying to explain this to somebody recently at one of the Paracons we're at. Like some people, like they have paranormal abilities, but like I think the ability to read people and to just kind of know bullshit before it happens and that kind of stuff. That vibe, that guys, that Italian vibe. Drink, Joey.
I gotta get my beer.
You know what I'm trying to say? It's just a way of reading people. So, I guess. So let me break it down back down to this. My biggest issue is I feel like you didn't get enough help at your house growing up, and that's a horrible thing for a kid to not feel like someone's got your back. Like you always need to know someone's got your back. That's why like dogs are great, right? A dog would have been a great companion for you. But the thing about dogs is you got to let them know you run the show, that you got their back. That way they feel comfortable. So it just sounded like you needed someone to make you comfortable, dude. And I feel bad for that because it sounds like you went through a lot of that you didn't have to go through.
Dude,
but
there were nights, man, when I would fall asleep and I'd wake up, and I would wake up to hearing a full-blown conversation going on above my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand. I would never be able to understand what they were saying. It was almost as if they didn't want me to understand what they were saying, but they wanted me to hear them enough to know they were there.
Mm-hmm.
That is terrifying. I mean, it's like, but you're right. It put me in a very awkward position.
Did you write it down? Did you try to get engaged, dude? Like, did you try to like get involved with these demons? Did you try to like go on the offensive? You know what I mean? I know it sounds odd, but I always
went into automatic writing. I would do automatic writing because whenever I was experiencing this, it would kind of trigger. This is gonna sound weird. It would kind of trigger my own giftings or whatnot. Like it was almost like they were using that to communicate. And so while I was experiencing that, I was also knowing things about people that they didn't tell me. I would pick that stuff up. And now that I'm older, it kind of does fit the blueprint. It's the same. I believe in the same entities, the UFO abduction phenomenon. And it's a whole nother show. But I think I had to go through it. I had to. I don't know why, but the teacher's always silent when the test is taken, and I think that it molded me into who I am today. But it did suck.
Yeah. Well, all right.
It
so
was freaking awful for a while.
And we do get into UFOs. We will, but that because this show we'll talk about anything. There's really no rhyme nor reason. That's kind of like bullying in a weird sort of way. Like when I grew up, there were fights every morning outside the school, and I say that people always they shrug it off, but it was always fights. Like it would be like the 6th grade is going to beat us up today. Why? It's Tuesday, you know what I mean? And we catch a beat.
It's nice out, yeah.
Yeah, it would just be one of those things. But bullying is something that made me who I am. Like I went from being like feeling like I didn't exist, and I was a prey for all these. Because remember when as a freshman in high school, you think back, especially in my era, the seniors were steroid freaks like they look like pro wrestlers. Like you guys don't remember my era, man. Fucking A. Like these guys were just jacked, and you felt like I gotta go to swim class with these motherfuckers. Like really? And then I go to swim class, and what do they do? Punch you, push you, whack you. Like a big guy can't walk. A guy that's muscular for some reason in high school could not walk by me without throwing me a shot. Like as a freshman or sophomore.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? You can see it come because you want to hit that. But that's what built me. So, all right, Nathaniel. So it shapes you. It hardens you. It must make you very difficult in relationships. No offense, because you must have a lot of stuff that someone else is just not going to understand.
Yeah, that's why I'm single, man. My last relationship.
My bad. I didn't know. I really didn't know you're single. My bad.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you know what? Legit Paranormal's most eligible bachelor is to the left of my screen or right, depending on how you look at it. So there you go.
To the left. Yeah. You're now Nathaniel, most eligible bachelor. Gillis.
Oh hell, dude. Yeah, my ex, I could never talk to her about this stuff. She was very, very, very shut off with that. But I do think a lot of that trauma sticks with you. It's not like it just, I mean, when I start thinking about it, like, especially when I have a few drinks, then those memories just start bubbling up. And, I tell people all the time, it's really interesting to me because as much as Hollywood tries to show us what a real haunting is, You know, they try to manufacture a haunting. You can create an apparition all you want to, but you'll never be able to replicate that unction, that presence, that consciousness,
The terror.
That psychological effect. Yeah.
The
You
not
can't
knowing
feel
when
terror.
or what's going to happen was always my, like, I worked in a place I didn't, and not knowing when, but knowing something was going to happen. Oh, that probably the most
It's the
terrifying.
worst part.
So see, but that's why I guess I keep saying things, and it doesn't sound like anybody thinks I'm being serious or takes me serious. I would go on the offensive because, again, as a kid being bullied, it's the truth. As a kid being bullied, you learned that laying in bed at night thinking about what you should have said or should have done or how you should have stuck up for yourself is 80 times worse than any beating I've ever caught in my life. Right? That's just how I live by things. That's just how I live my life. I don't want to live in bed. I don't want to lay in bed and say, oh, why did I not stick up for myself? Like, that's why my nose is as crooked as it is. It's just not going to be how it's going to be. So my problem is when it comes to these things, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm cool, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a MacGyver. I'm just saying I think I would try to figure out a way to catch this son of a bitch or do something offensively and like, let's get it on. Like, let's have in other words, I don't like long drawn out confrontations. You want to get it on? Want to do it? Let's do it. And I think I would have been like, I don't know, try to like, all right, let's confront. Let's get at it. You want to do it? Let's do it. Like, I'm just that. I don't know. Joey, does that make any sense?
Did you ever
because
did you ever call out the spirit?
Did you, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I did. At the last time it manifested, it was the strongest ever. It was almost suffocating. And then at that point in time, I was writing suicide poetry downstairs in the basement.
Jesus fucking
for 2 hours, the same sentences, and then stuff started coming through me, and I looked at it. That ain't me. What the hell's going on? And so there was one night when I just got tired of it, and I just
one night, dude. You're writing one line of poetry of suicide poetry. Jesus, Christopher, like.
Yep.
That's a sign.
Yes. Yeah. So I remember going in the corner of my room and just crying, breaking down. I'm like, dude, you fight so much, and you it's easy to compare it to a bully because you have something to compare it to. You can't see this. You can't feel it. It's intangible. It's seasoned to you. That's the whole issue. And so it's a very difficult position to be in. But one night I prayed. I said, look, I don't even know who you are, God. I don't even know what this is. I said, all I know is I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of it. I've failed grades. I had, I stopped talking to my parents. I was just kind of retracting into myself. And the only way I can describe it is the heaviness just dissolved, just disappeared. And it wasn't like a long drawn out process. It was bam, it's gone. And so now as an older person and older in my career, the suicide is the easiest entity for me to pick out. I've been on phone conversations. I had a family that wanted me to talk to their 16-year-old daughter, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I'd say 3:00 in the morning, and she's just, there's nothing wrong with me and all this stuff. And I'm about to hang up the phone. Literally, I'm mid-sentence. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't help you. All of a sudden, I felt something brush against me, and I said, all right. I said, I just felt the spirit of suicide just walk by me. When I said that, she broke down in tears. I've been planning on doing that. How'd you know? So it's almost like knowing that and going through that gave me a certain understanding of how that works and a certain sensitivity to where I can pick it out very easily.
Yeah.
I had to go through that,
No, I get that. So look, listen, here's my thing though. I had someone say to me within recent week, like how bad things were. And I was like, after this whole lockdown, you got to reach out to people that you haven't talked to in a while. Cause some people they're not doing well. And, mention, suicide and like, thoughts of it at least. And then like, was like, do you think less of me for having that thought? And I'm like, less of you? Like,
right.
Doesn't everyone know what it's like to be alive? This world is in continuity. Like, who's not had a thought about taking themselves out? I think about taking myself out, driving myself sometimes in the car. I'm just like, what? If I'm by myself, I'm like, this is it. I had enough. And like, I get the call. Now I got to pick something else at CVS. Yeah. To the pole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Allegedly, Joe. I'm just saying, like if you've never in life, like if you've never lived, if you're older and you've experienced life, of course you understand somebody saying they thought about suicide. Because I swear to God, that's life. Like now I'm at a point where it's like, yeah, I get it, dude. I can understand why some people can get in a situation where it's like, you know what I mean? Because I'll be honest, I've looked at some people's situation, I go, I think I'd probably go looking for a rope or something like that pretty soon because it's getting pretty sad and bad. So it's like I get it, but like, and I don't think that the stigma is there as much anymore, as much as it was back then, right? And I think the fact that you can reach out to these people and connect with them is the greatest thing that you can do, because I think at that moment when someone's like really like they've lost hope. There's nothing else. They have no self-pride. There's nothing left for them. So that's the conversation I've always dreaded having the most in my life, is talking to somebody that is in that situation, because where do you even begin, dude? Like, how do you unpack what they have?
I had this is a tough situation. Let me give you this real quick. I had a gentleman reach out to me about 3 years ago, and he said that he had been facing suicide because his twin brother committed suicide.
Hey.
And it was bad, man. I was like, oh my God, it was tough. I mean, I try to help him as much as you can. You know, a lot of times, again, there are people that fight it and they won't even tell people, or there are people that fight it, but you know, it hasn't really manifested yet. I had one case that's really interesting too. Is a case out of Cincinnati. The mother wanted me to help the son, and the son has like some kind of possession going on, and something would take his body and look around at people and stuff. It would tell him things about the people that he would, you know, never otherwise known. And I asked the mother, I said, well, if I ask you questions, I ask you to tell me the truth. I'm going to help you guys. I don't want to be lied to. You know, I'm going to drive an hour and a half, pay my own way, my gas and everything. At least tell me the truth. She said, okay. I said, do you have a spirit of suicide in your family? Has there been somebody in your family that's recently committed suicide? She said, no. I said, okay. And as I'm talking to her, instantly, I see myself sitting on a couch. It's at nighttime. I look over to my left, and there is a man, tall man, white man, black hair, kind of looks a little bit like you, but his beard was all black. And I saw him look around, and then he darted into a room. And and I said, who is this? And she said, well, that was my ex-husband, David. I said, okay, why am I seeing this? She said, well, he killed himself. I said, okay. Yes. And then she started crying. She goes, this is the craziest thing. She said, because my son was the one sitting in that chair that night. And she said, the next day, my son told me that he saw his dad, the apparition of his father, walk into my room. So I don't know how this stuff works, but it's almost like I went back in time and I was there with him as he witnessed his death. So that suicide motif is, like I said, you have to go through it to understand it. You have to be, you know, it kind of breeds a sensitivity about it. But to this day, I think that's the only reason that I can justify the trauma of going to bed, knowing that there's something present with but absent from.
That terrified me to death just now, that story about the kid with sitting the couch. Dude, I don't ever want to see myself on someone else's couch and then there's a suit. Like in other words, unless I'm taking mushrooms, I do not want to see myself on another couch, or I don't want to see things fly through the room. I can't deal with it. I don't know how you can. So, Nathaniel, here's my issue. I don't know how you can deal with it on a day-to-day basis, because then there's real life. But
there's real life, yeah.
But you're right.
Beer helps.
Beer helps everything.
Dude, I'm not lying. Yeah.
So, your sensitivity, right, is something that I 100% believe. Because here's the thing: I'm one of those people that, like, you stop playing basketball, you notice things about people. You can sense things about them. Weirdly, right? You stop playing blackjack, whatever you want to do, you learn things about people. So if you're in the world of it, you become part of it. But suicide leaves there's such an emotional, odd blackness of that, right? That I don't think anybody wants to really, truly, like, acknowledge exists. But there's almost like something that, and you're right, there's almost a feeling of suicide that's there too, that's like a darkness, like because
Yeah.
this person has a darkness over them, you know.
Yeah, it's more than an attachment. Like if you go into the Dibuk mythology, the Dybbuk, people call it Dybbuk, whatever. The only pictorial tradition, the picture of a Dibuk we have, is literally a skeleton clinging on to a living man, and the man's trying to walk, but there's an attachment laying on top of him. It's so interesting. Since we're on the subject, I was at a restaurant. God, it's been 4 or 5 years ago. I was outside. I like cigars, so I'm smoking a cigar, reading literature. Yeah, bro, light it up, man.
Get 'em going.
I get yelled at
Yeah.
though because the way I slept upstairs, although the woman feeling good, so maybe she's laying down, and she doesn't watch this show anyway, so maybe I will. Continue.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, man. So I'm out there just researching and smoking a cigar, and a friend of mine walks up and says, "Hey," he says, "there's a girl that I know, and she's here with her boyfriend, and she's curious about what you do." I explained to her what you do, and she thinks you can help her. I said, "All right." So she's there with her boyfriend. I've never met her. Matter of fact, I just saw her about a couple months ago. It's really funny how this stuff works out. But anyway, so she sits down in front of me. She's with her boyfriend. Never met him. And she says, she goes, my best friend lives with her grandfather. And she's like, she lives in Springfield, Ohio. So it's about 30 minutes away from where I'm at. And she said, it's this really old house. And she said, last week, her grandfather, who owns the house, was chased out of the house by an entity that nobody could see but him. And he had a heart attack and died in the front yard. And she said her friend is the only living grandchild.
Wait a minute, wait,
Yeah.
stop. He got chased out by an entity that nobody else could see but him.
He kept saying it's chasing
then took a heart attack and died.
Yes.
How do we know then? So then how do we know that he was being chased by an entity?
I don't know. That's her story.
In other words, if I'm thinking I'm being chased by something and I run out in the yard and I have a heart attack, how does my story get passed forward? How does anyone know that that's what I did? My wife could be just like, the Giants lost. You ran out there again.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. In other words, I believe you. I'm trying to stay with you, but I always want to fact check shit in the sense of like, not fact check. That's wrong. I don't want to say that because that makes me sound like a geek who's like, I write comedy notes.
Evidently, he had told her this.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
in other words, because come on, like, how do you just die outside of a heart attack and someone goes, he died because he was being chased by an entity that only
she said it
could
chased him. Yeah, so this is really interesting, man. It kind of changed my perspective on just how life works and how giftings work and whatnot. So anyway, she's talking to me and she's like, she goes, now my best friend inherited that house and she's afraid to go back into it. And I said, okay. And while I'm talking to her, I could just feel this heaviness and I could just see it was like in some kind of second side of this dark cloud land on her. And I said, while I can help your friend, and I said, I want to, I said, there's another grandfather here present, but it's not your friend's grandfather. And there's another girl about your friend's age here present, but it's not her. I said, you have an attachment of suicide on you. Out of nowhere. Boom. And she says, what? I said, yes. And I said, it's affecting all of your relationships. It's affecting your relationship with your family and your boyfriend and everything. She starts shaking. She holds her hands out and puts my fingers on her wrists and I could feel scars. She said that just last year she had tried to kill herself.
But what do you mean attachment of suicide, man? Like, what does that mean?
Like that there was something like a parasitic entity that was trying to get her to do that.
Okay.
And I said, this is a familial entity. I said, is there suicide in your family? She started crying. She goes, yes. She said, it was my grandfather who killed himself in 2014. So what's really interesting about this is that in my philosophy here, I think that she was actually needing help herself. 100%. I do believe she had a friend who lost her grandfather, but I believe that the entity almost had convinced her to never look for help herself. And so when she talked to me, it was very easy to discern that. And I did a cleansing with her. Just kind of, I did a little technique I learned from Kabbalah, which you're dealing with emotions. And so once we got through those emotions, that entity left, and I saw her, and she's doing really good. But that's how a lot of the stuff works. It's very weird.
It's Yeah, it is very weird. It's buddy, question for you because I know we're being hit by questions all over.
Oh
How
yeah.
do you discern mental health with this? Like, where does mental health fall in? And
All
I
right.
don't mean with him. I mean with like in other words, like when you
Paranormal,
speak
with
with
seeing stuff,
people.
with hearing
Yes,
stuff.
when you speak,
All right,
yes.
so perfect example, Mike. I give this to everybody. I work with mentally ill people every single day. I work with people who are schizophrenic, hear voices, or delusional. Those people, whether they're on medication and they're having symptoms or they're off medication and they're really having symptoms, that is all the time. That does not stop. You do not stop hearing voices. It's constant. It's regular. You regularly see delusions. You regularly have hallucinations. It's a thing. It's an every day, every moment of the day. I have a guy who talks to somebody in his room for 23 hours a day. He believes somebody else is sitting in there because he's severely mentally ill. Somebody who is
Okay.
experiencing, hold on, somebody who is experiencing paranormal phenomena. It does not happen every day. I myself, when I was a skeptic, before I even started doing paranormal investigation, anything, had experiences, but it wasn't every day, and it wasn't everywhere I went. It wasn't when I woke up in the morning. It wasn't all day long, and when I went to bed at night. It was only when I was in a particular area, which was the place that I worked in, which was between 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't every night that I was there either. It was sporadic. Sometimes it was every night. Sometimes it was every night, and it would stop for a month. It was so that's the difference between how you can tell the difference between somebody who, in my opinion, who's mentally ill and who's experiencing the paranormal. It's not all the time. It's random. It's not triggered by an emotional experience or like, oh, my kid just like got taken away by his baby daddy because I'm a bad mother and now I'm having a breakdown and now I'm seeing all these spirits. That's somebody who's mentally ill. You know, it's
All right. But where
my answer.
But where does it cross? Joe, I'm gonna throw it to you because you're sitting there with your Boston Red Sox shirt on that I can't stand. Yeah, go Red Sox. By the way, losing the Paw Sox to Worcester, now the Woo Sox, is so disgusting. I want to throw up.
I want to throw up in my mouth, Mike.
Joe, I know, buddy, and you're getting close to the cameras, which is scary. Joe, what I want to know is where does it cross lines? Like, in other words, all right, somebody is mentally ill. What if they are actually possessed? How does that go unchecked, in your opinion, Joe? Before I pass
sorry, the first thing I want to say, I think almost 50 minutes into this, it's a very good spot
Allagash White. Or Allagash. Sorry.
With how heavy this episode's been, I just want to say if anyone is having thoughts of suicide or having negative thoughts, reach out to someone, reach out to friends you haven't seen. There are plenty of numbers and people you can call. There's a lot of help you can get, and that's not the only option. I just wanted to say that while we're on this topic because I think it's very important.
To listen. Don't ever think that's the last.
Exactly. Now to answer your question, like I'm not exactly the best person for this.
I know that's why I threw it to you.
What I will say is that I think people with a mental illness, like what Buddy was describing, or even someone who is just so depressed, which I guess in a sense is a mental illness for, for having lost somebody or whatever, can manifest paranormal activity, and the fact that they're putting so much energy out in a negative way that it causes negative things to happen around them, and sometimes can portray or be kind of perceived as paranormal activity, but it's really just them kind of conveying that energy out and it almost reflecting back on them.
I love how you say things so quickly, Joe. Nathaniel, where does it cross over? Like, in other words, like really, some people that are crazy, that they considered crazy, and they're over at Buddy's hospital. I don't know where Buddy works. I'm just saying. And I excuse the word crazy, but I like to use it. It's funny to me. But you know what I mean. Well, where does that cross over? Like, how do you know?
Well, okay, let's look at Jerry Marzinski. He's a psychologist. He was working. If you guys don't know him, he's a beast. He was dealing with inpatient care, but people that were there because they were addicts. By the way, side note, Allagash White's my favorite beer of all time.
I love Allagash White.
I can't get in Ohio. Dude, it's incredible. So
Marzinski it's like a barrel aged.
The guy
that bought Mike's John Rocker jersey gave me all these beers because he bought John Rocker jersey. Go on,
man. So Marzinski had a gentleman who was a business executive And what was happening is he had a cocaine addiction. But
There you
when he
go.
would get addicted, when he would do cocaine, he started hearing voices. When he would stop doing cocaine, the voices stopped. And so he was living like this perpetual pattern of behavior where he would go in inpatient care and he would get clean, right? Everything would be fine. And then he would go back out in the world. He'd get his job back. You know, his wife started talking to him again. His credit's built back up. And, a year later, he comes back in disheveled, looking homeless. Why? Because he just went on a bender. And, and all these voices are back. And finally, he it wasn't really a confession. It was kind of like just a way to understand him more. He said, "Hey, Dr. Marzinski, can I tell you what's been happening to me? Why it is that you see me out there doing really well, and the next thing you know, I'm back in here looking like, I'm homeless." He said, "Okay, let me know what happens." He says, "Okay." He said, "As soon as I get clean, I'll be asleep at nighttime, and a voice will tell me to get up, get dressed, and get in my car." And this is very interesting, guys. I think it's fascinating.
Wait a minute.
He said that, yeah.
Wait a minute. So he's not on cocaine at this moment.
No, he's clean.
Right.
And he's trying to get at least some understanding, to tell a story to Dr. Marzinski about what's going on. He's like, and then I get in my car. He said, next thing I know, I'm obeying the commands of his voice. Take a right here, take a left here. And then he said, next thing I know, I'm in a cornfield with a duffel bag full of cocaine. Now, this is very interesting. This gets into Carl Jung. Yes, these archetypes are alive. They exist. They're real. We don't know who creates them. And so Marzinski's argument was that is a separate entity. And what it was doing is it could not have power over this individual unless he was addicted to cocaine. And so when he got clean, he would literally, supernaturally give him information he would have never otherwise known to get him back on the drug. And
this one's tough because we're talking about cocaine. You know what I mean? So like, literally, we're talking about a guy who hears voices when he does cocaine.
Right. And off. Like, he was not on cocaine when he heard this last voice.
All right.
And so that's what he was talking to Jerry Marzinski about was, I don't know how to, this is what he said. I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I keep getting the drug. Like, it's not just that it's some yearning within me. Literally, there's something out there that wants me on this. And once I'm on this, it has power over me. That's Marzinski's work. And that's his research. But I think that does point to the fact that there are exterior forces that are at work.
So
sometimes.
I think everyone hears their share of voices on coke. Allegedly. I'll say that. However, that second voice, therein lies what I really do believe, because addiction in any format is doing something even though you should not do for many reasons, and you justify in your head why you should do it. And then to me, that's where, if you want to talk about an evil spirit or voices, I just think that's in the human body, the human spirit. We have that part of us that's always like whatever. Some of us can't control them, and when they get going and they get fed like a monster, it gets bigger. It could spiral. I mean, I know people that spiral, Jesus Christ, from the Band-Aids. I know people that spiral so badly out of control, they would talk into different things and something that I have a friend who swears something landed on his hood of his car and all this stuff. Like, so it's like, do you believe any of that mania or like, it's so hard. Like, in other words, what I'm trying to say is it's so hard for me to like figure out what is real and what's just the side effect of cocaine and drugs. Right. Because I know there's something look, listen to me, man. I've dealt with addiction in the sense of like addiction. And my whole family. I've seen people do things and then ask them why they did it, and they can't tell you why. I've done things like I'm not supposed to do that, but I did it anyways because I'm not even thinking it. It's like this is another part of me that clicks. Like, if I'm being honest, in the morning is when like my mind is at its craziest. And so for me, like an addiction thing would be like, I gotta go pick up this, don't buy anything else. But I get there, I get a drink, I look at the baseball cards, shit like that, like things I'm not supposed to do. but I do it anyways. And then when I'm done doing it, I'm like, what the did you just do? So, buddy, one, I talk to myself all day long.
I've been with you, Mike. I know.
I mean, I have so many different people, and I think I have voices in my head that I talk to when I make decisions now, because I had to come to a point. It changed probably for me last year of self-realization where I could feel all the negative energy that I was carrying, and these negative things that felt like they were feeding off, like when I would do stuff. I don't know if I'm making any sense, man, but this is my
Makes sense to me.
this is my trip through the paranormal. And what I've learned is that it actually made me closer to my faith, and like believing in a heaven and believing in an afterlife. And it's easier having my parents pass. Like my mom passed the day after Christmas. So that was it for me for parents. But it's made it easier in the sense of like they went somewhere. I know they did. And when I talk to now people that are paranormal investigators or whatnot, especially on that buddy on the Salem, I tell them that I can feel like that they are trying to protect me at all times, because I ask them to when it comes to paranormal shit. Like I want them to be like a dampener almost. Like I don't want to see stuff. Like help me out. Like just block everything out. God's honest truth. I feel like it works, and I feel like my ability to read people, your ability to tap into like people when you feel like that suicide feeling.
Suicide.
I think what we both do, even like Joe, I can't speak for you in your sense of how you deal with people, but I can talk for Buddy, and I'm not busting balls, but like Buddy's got a way where I know he can, when he's talking to people, he can immediately sense what's going on. He's in that world, so he's in that world. We all have our ways of touching things. That's more paranormal than anything else. It's we can tap into other people and understand what they're going through, or like, man, you can sense it to this point where you see things. I think that's so that I guess what I'm getting to is I guess it's a gift, right? I mean, through all this shit you've done and dealt with, it comes, if you can see that on other people, then you can help. If you help one person,
Yeah, it
like,
comes out of trauma. Yeah, you're right. It comes out of trauma. Like it's very weird. Yeah, it's a feeling, man. I know, and there are people out there that have had mental issues that brought about suicide. I don't know where it begins. I know where that there are people that I can just feel it. I don't know if it's a mental issue. I don't know if it's an entity. Either way, it's very tangible to me to where, because I've had those same emotions, right? I've had those same thoughts.
So
and
I
it's
don't think
almost
that's
like they just pick it up.
but I don't think so. I guess I don't think that's paranormal. I think that's the human experience. This whole ride that we're on, like this whole thing that we're on. There is a way that we can sense things from others if we're in tune to that. If you're looking for that, if you have that deep within you and that means a lot to you, you will definitely find that in other people, right? That's just how that kind of works. So I guess you got to go. It's like, you ever see Shawshank Redemption?
Awesome movie. Best movie.
Best movie ever.
One of the goats, man. One of the goats.
All right. So it was Andy Dufresne was the guy's name.
Andy Dufresne.
All right. So I remember my brother Ray once sent me this. Like Andy Dufresne had to crawl through God knows how many football fields worth of shit just to come out the other side clean.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, that's exactly the perfect way of summing up everybody's journey with shit. Like, you got to go through the field of shit, but if you keep going, there's that moment where he's, you know what I mean? Like, there is that moment. If you keep going, you will get that Andy Dufresne moment of coming out the other side. It just sucks. And man, we haven't gotten on about, in this hour, we haven't talked any really of the stuff that you've done, but it's been great to get to know you.
Amazing.
First off, like now I can't wait to have drink on Federal Hill.
Yeah.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
gotta do that.
Right near
We
Federal
got
Hill.
to. Dude,
And
yeah, we got to, man.
I like to get people to understand what it is that you do, the name, your reasoning, the person behind what is being done. You know what I mean? Because this whole
Yeah.
man, the whole paranormal thing is, and you, by the way, obviously you're a great poser, and I mean that in a good way. Poser, as in like for photos, because you took
Oh,
phenomenal
Here
photos.
we go.
okay.
I realize a poser. I know, and I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. What I meant was, you're photogenic. Is that better,
There
Joe?
you go.
It's H.
There you go.
I'll
So-
take that over the other way. That'll work.
Right. So you're one
Yeah.
of those guys who got the good paranormal things and all that stuff. But like with James and with Carl and everybody that I've met, it's so much better to get to know them as people, to understand, then to backtrack and understand what it is they do and why they're doing it. Because to start off with just like what is it that you do? What have you found? What is it create? It's like
Right.
just superficial. Man, I can catch that on any other podcast, you know. And hopefully Carl has seen the neurologist by now. And he's getting help with his migraines. Hopefully he'll reach back out to me. Carl writes messages that are so elaborately long and eloquent that it makes me feel like a fifth grader responding back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, brother, we'll do, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what do I gotta say?
TY.
Yeah. What do I gotta say? You know what I mean? But all right, we hit an hour. So Nathaniel, what would you like to get across right now? Is there anything you'd like to plug before we send
Well, I
it to
think,
the guys?
yeah, I think that these entities are playing by different rules because they're playing a different game. They have a different morality. They have a different belief system. They have different symbology. And as a field, demonology is groping in the darkness. That's where we are, and I think that's really where we're at.
You know what? So let me ask you this. Should we be afraid of the dark, or because that's where everything lurks, or is it something where we should go into the dark?
I well, I
Away
think
from the light, Caroline.
yeah, I think that right now, if we collected the data sample and looked at the various case studies throughout history, we're never really able to get a firm grasp of what we're dealing with. You have Catholic demonology that says that we're dealing with horns and hooves. You have Jewish demonology that says at least some of these beings are disembodied souls. And then we go into ufology and we have beings that are literally causing people to be self-seeing, where you can come out of your body and look at your body and you're in two places at once. So I think that throughout history that there are certain behavioral patterns that link demonology to ufology. And I think that we have biblical texts that point to that. But what's happening now in the deepest field of research is that these are the same entities. And contrary to popular belief and religious pop culture that stretches the airwaves and the TV shows, these actors are not portraying what's really going on. They're not.
No.
We're told that these entities hate crosses, and yet they're throwing crosses across the room. The cross has authority over them, yet they just remove it and walk into the room. None of it fits. And what we're doing now, at least in my field, is that we're becoming dogmatists in the sense that it doesn't work, but I want it to. And so I'm going to create data that suggests that it works. No, Father Sinestro of Amino is a 16th century Franciscan priest, saw a demon that was so powerful and so immune to curses. He was a pagan demon. How are pagan demons even existing when religion itself tells them they're a demon? So we have to, as researchers, it's not enough to get EVPs. To me, as a demonologist, yes, we get names and stuff, but the information we're getting is very much controlled, very much controlled by whatever that is that lingers in the shadows. And that's my ramble. That's the whole. I don't know. I think we're.
I
I
believe you. So
yeah.
I think. Look, listen. A couple things. One, I think what's in the shadows, the scariest thing in the shadows would be actual people, not actually like spirits. I think that's needs to be stated. And two, buddy, I know. Actually, let's go, Joe. What are your thoughts?
So I just
Correct
kind of want to
you
reiterate again. This was a very heavy episode. If anyone is having any thoughts of suicide or just really
Making
needs
it
help and needs to
heavier.
talk,
Jesus, man, come on.
please reach out. I mean, yeah, you can say that, but again, I think it's important. I mean, we just went through this whole episode of trying to help people, or how Nathaniel's been helping people in a lot of senses, but specifically in this one, I think it is good to harp on. Reach out if you need help. There's always someone that you can talk to, that you can confide in. Other than that, man, Nathaniel, it's been great talking to you. I could honestly listen to you for hours, and I definitely am looking forward to the next time you're in Rhode Island. Buddy can show you some good breweries, and I can tag along and drink some good beer.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Buddy.
Awesome, guys.
Oh
Buddy.
my god! And the thing of being an investigator, I could like pick your brain and delve into this for hours on end. Unfortunately, we only have about an hour. So next time you come to Rhode Island again, look us up. We'll do Federal Hill. We'll do Long Live. We'll do all the breweries in Providence. We'll have a good time. Next week, speaking of a good time, next week tune in on next Sunday live at 7:05 as we welcome Matt Warner. He's coming back to the show. He's going to talk about his recent purchase of the Hartsville house and the various paranormal events he does there, public investigations, groups of, like, say, Ocean State Paranormal maybe going out there someday and investigating. And they're doing the, this year, a couple months from now, July 31st, he's doing the Wicked Pizza Parafair up at the Hartsville house in Rockland, Mass. So we'll have a whole lot.
Wait a minute. So we get that. Ask Matt next week if he needs MC.
You could ask Matt. I don't know if he'll need your services or if you'll have coronavirus, but maybe we'll do it, Mike. I don't know.
Come on, I was there for the ship. I went to the Bigfoot convention and
you missed one, Mike, and that was the one you.
I missed one stupid thing with because I was sick, and you're gonna hold me to it.
I'm just saying the one you were supposed to MC. You bailed.
Do you think the champ would have missed it, Mike?
The champ wouldn't have missed it, Mike.
Don't, Joey, don't. Why would you poke a sleeping bear?
Nathaniel,
I want to let you in on a little thing here real quick. So we do a bunch of different podcasts on the site, legitpodcast.com. We started off with football and then it advanced a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, we got to do like a Art Bell Sunday night paranormal type show. And that's how this started, because that's just what I want to do. Yeah. So everybody involved in the channel is in a fantasy football league, because we really started with that, and some of us are really good at things like this. So we thought we got together the best 12. I told them in the beginning who would be the champ. They didn't listen, Nathaniel. This is the problem.
Here we go, Joe. Here it comes.
And then the guy won. And then so it's a character that I actually go into. I'm not gonna do it now, but they don't like him very much. But he's true to his word. He is the champ. But anyways, it was a pleasure having you on. I appreciate that you can deal with us and still get your information across. I'm glad that we got to start to peel back what it is, who you are, what it is that you do, and intention-wise. I'd love to have you back to do like a deeper dive. Man, I keep saying to Buddy, and no one wants to listen to me. Like, I could get this little. I want to get this little the parlor. I want to get the parlor. It's like a bar in Providence.
Yes.
Right. But I want to fill it with like paranormal speakers instead of like rock bands. Like my way of doing it, awesome. I want to do it like stand up, but it's not stand up. Obviously, it's paranormal speaking. Because what would be better than to get a couple of guys together in the same room, and then not only do we start, people get their things, but we all drink all night, and it's a festive time, and then I MC it, and at the end I bring everybody back up for an open forum, and an open forum where we're drunk might be one of the best things you'll hear from people for a long time. It might be one of like something that everybody wants to be around. So
Keith and Carl Johnson just beefing it out on the stage.
You'll hear of cases you didn't know existed, man.
That's my point.
We'll be throwing out stuff like, I never told you about this, but this actually happened. Yeah.
But that's my point is, if we fill it with all the people that we know, right, buddy? If all the different past guests that would want to come down,
a lot of guys, there's a lot of girls.
Right? The room itself would be open, right? It's going to be a ridiculously open room if we ever have a legit paranormal party. It would be the perfect place for people to speak, people to get drunk, people to like meet other people and like be friendly, so that hopefully the information will start to get passed. You know what I mean?
Paranormal mosh pit. That'd be great, Mike.
Because we'd be bringing together a bunch of different groups, right?
Sponsored by Allagash.
Right?
Right. Yeah, now you're talking.
Oh, dude.
I'm just
Man, I'll tell you
I
what,
love
dude.
it.
Last time I was in Rhode Island, it was actually about 3 years ago. It wasn't the last one, but I had gotten 2 6-packs, or 4-packs. I think they come in Allagash White,
Yeah.
and I got a fight with my ex, and I flew out the next morning. I left them all there. She's not even and we don't get that in Ohio, man. They
I bet she poured them out, my friend. I bet she was going like that.
Yeah,
Every
no.
single what sucks. That's a
Well,
let's have a
that's
sip
what
for
I'm
lost
saying.
beer.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, one sip for lost beer.
Oh Lord.
Okay, so
Oh.
it was May 29, 2022. Come on, I'm dealing with the comments nonstop. Elise, I'm so glad you're
Yes.
watching. Because
Love Elise.
I keep making the same statement about you, but I want to clear this up because watch. Elise always looks like she wants to leave a picture.
Show another picture. You get another picture?
No. I'm just going to show you that one. But am I right? Doesn't she seem like she's like, I gotta go?
Are we done here yet? Are we done?
We'll see what she
Dude,
said.
I was so hungover in that picture, you would not even believe it, dude. Oh
No,
my
I would believe
God.
I'd
You
believe
see
it.
my eyes? They were. I got like an hour and a half of sleep the night before, and
I can't wait for part 2. Like when you come back down. Oh yeah, you hate pics.
Yeah,
That's
fuck
what it
you.
is.
don't
She hates
feel.
pics. Look at the picture of her. More photogenic than all 4 of us. I hate when people say that I hate pics. Yeah, all right. Well, you know what I mean? Look at our mugs, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean?
Right, exactly.
I can't stand them. All right. So for Nathaniel Gillis, Joey Paranormal, Buddy Thayer, it's me, Mike Levy King, Mike L. This was Legit Paranormal from legitpodcast.com. Thank you for watching. We will see you again next Sunday, and we are done.